Are you a coach, a consultant, a content creator, an artist, a teacher, someone who's been thinking about creating a book, but you're not quite sure how to do it or if you should even do it, what the book should totally be about, how you're going to structure it, how you're going to put it all together, who the audience is going to be for it, how are you going to reach them? Any of the myriad of decisions that an author must take in order to create a book. I want to encourage you to join my school community that I have created for the published creator. I have a school community called the Published Creator where I help either authors who have published a book recently but are not getting the sales and monetization opportunities that they would like to have, or those who are thinking about writing a book but they're just not quite sure how they're going to put it all together. I would encourage you to join me in the Post Creator School community. Also, join me for one of my monetization mapping sessions, which I do in the school community, where I take on an author, creator, someone who's working on a book or a book idea, and help you find ways in order to be able to get your work out there, either as you are developing the book, if you're in the process of creating it, or if the book is done, how to reach audiences and expand your monetization portfolio beyond just what I call onesie twosie book sales. I'm actually working on my own book of the same title called The Authorpreneur Decision. And this is going to be a book that I'm actually working on right now. This book is actually not written yet, but this is a mock-up version of the book that I am now working on. And what I'm going to be doing is pulling back the curtain and showing you exactly how I'm using the strategies I'm teaching to put together this actual book, which I've just shown you here in the video. So again, if you have a book or you have a book idea and you're not even certain that even if it should even ultimately even be a book, maybe it could be a card deck, maybe it could be a board game, maybe it could be a planner or workshop series, maybe it could be an audio book or a private podcast. There are so many opportunities out there for us as authors, and dare I say, authorpreneurs, because this is what I know. Writing a book and publishing a book is one thing. Creating an audience around the book that pays you for life is a whole other skill and an art. And I want to be able to help you do that in the most efficient and, dare I say, fun way possible. So if this is of interest to you at all, I encourage you to click somewhere inside the description here, click on the link and join my Published Creator School community and apply for an opportunity to be in one of my monetization mapping hot seats. If it's a fit for you, I can go through the plan that I'm showing you in the video today and help you find those opportunities that are really right under your nose. But sometimes we're just too close to it to be able to actually see what it is because we're too close to it. Having outside perspective always gives a better perspective on what to do next. So if this is of interest to you, we can join the school community and I'll connect with you, reach out. And if it's a fit, invite you to come join me for a complimentary monetization mapping hot seat session in the group. And if it's also a further fit, to help you deep dive and actually build out your own blueprint plan. All right. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you and hope you enjoyed the episode of the podcast. So, anywho, I don't know how many of you saw the post. I believe you did, Roxanne. Let me just share this really quick. So what I did was from the last couple of these sessions that I did, I ran this through Notebook LM. I took the transcripts and ran it through ChatGPT and then asked it to distill down the actual conversations that I've had with, I know with you, Roxanne, and again, I think with you, Marcia, and some other, and Christine. And I said, can you break this down? Actually, I asked it to give me five. I already had the questions that I wanted to ask, but for whatever reason, a Notebook LM only did four. But it's actually okay. It's fine. Um, because I know we're visual people, and I feel like seeing something mapped out, literally mapped out, is always a great way to absorb the information and take it in a different way. And it's also what I'm really big about is really my whole brand, if you will, is about repackaging what we have as opposed to it only can be in this one container. While I'm on this subject, well, first before I go in, well, let me back it up. I have a podcast interview that's already on YouTube. I'm going to publish probably today with a young lady that's a colleague of a client of mine, and she instead of writing a book, she created a card deck. It was eventually going to be, it was going to be a board game, but then she went with a card deck, and she's actually using a Kickstarter campaign to raise the funds to publish it. That episode's gotten a lot of good response. So that episode's it's already on YouTube. I'm gonna post it on in the schoolroom today. The point I'm bringing it up is because repackaging our assets, our content, is one of the fastest ways, in my opinion, to get to monetization. Because everyone may not necessarily want the original, they may not want a book. They may want it as an app, or they may want it as a game, or they may want it as a live experience. So anyway, I just wanted to put that out there, so that you all, whether you're here with me live or you're watching the replay of this, is again about the thing I constantly say, as Marsha well knows, you hear me say this all the time, it's about thinking differently about what we do and how we do it. So anywho, I know that you had asked a question, Roxanne, about your book. And so what I'd like to do is have you, um, first of all, can everyone see the map?
Yeah.
Okay, let me turn the volume up because couldn't hear you all that well. All right. So as you look at this, I know you asked a question about your current book. As you look at this, and I believe you were one of the people who commented on this visual. When you look at this, let me take it from this perspective. As you look at this map, what are the things that came up for you? Like as we go through each of the four areas, what is like, let's just talk about number one. What comes up for you as the question you asked me on the post, and then you're looking at this, what comes up for
Mhm.
you?
Well, just number one. I would say like, okay, there's a story because the last time I talked to you, I haven't like 100% given up on wanting to write a book about vendor issues and stuff as a chef and as a vendor myself.
Hmm.
But I've been doing a lot of searching. I've been really trying to figure out like what it is that I'm really supposed to be doing. And those answers came to me. And I realized that something that I told someone I would do once I graduated from her program, it was a women's support group. And it took about, I don't know, a year or so for me to get through that program. It can be sooner depending on the person. And so once I graduated, I told her I would reach back and help other women come through this program as well so they could get the same healing that I did. And I didn't do it. I mean, I did do I went and tried to do it with her, but then some things came about that kind of threw wrenches in the whole thing and we just kind of stopped and I could have kept going, but I made that my excuse to stop because I was afraid of certain things. And so that's the gist of it. So I decided once I had been doing the chef thing, the vendor thing, trying to build a community around that for so long, for about a year and a half, that once I did this 5 day challenge um, with Arlen Hamilton, I
Hmm.
decided I was gonna just do it then. I decided I was going to pivot and I was going to do this because then I could be obedient to what I felt like in my soul I should be doing right now. And once I made that decision, it just seemed like everything just kind of fell into place.
Wonderful.
And so my natural expertise, if you say that, I'm still learning too, but I am really good at what it is that she's handed over to me, my mentor, being a facilitator, but now I'm a guide for women who are in these very difficult relationships. I'm going to put it that way. I don't know if you want me to really talk deeply about what it is that I'm doing, but
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's the thing that people will come to you for. So if you just want to give one example.
Um, they would come to me asking me advice about, you know, let's see, they want to be believed. That's the first thing. Like, so there's a call that we'd have where they can be heard and believed, you know. So have somebody say, I believe what you're telling me,
Hmm.
instead of blaming her for what's happened in the relationship.
Okay.
That's the biggest thing.
Okay. Okay. All right. So the question that people, so if you're looking at this from the perspective of what your gifting is being able to hold space,
Yeah.
if you will, for women in a transitional period, and they are trying to navigate out of where they currently are
Mm-hmm.
into a safer situation. Would that be a correct
Yes.
assessment? Okay. All right.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So then moving on to number two. What are you, well, you've said it already, but I just want to reiterate again. So what are
Yeah.
you currently doing in order to be able to reach these women and open up this conversation?
I'm currently uh doing some posts on Instagram,
Hmm.
LinkedIn,
Hmm.
and I'm starting a faceless podcast. So I want to just narrow that down to one that I really want to dive into for the first few months. And I think it's going to be the Faceless podcast to kind of direct people into the community.
Okay. 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 So that's online. What are
Yes.
you doing? And I'm not judging or saying the right, wrong, or different, but
Oh,
where
yeah.
the question we want to ask also with this question is also, where are they already hanging out? Where are they already there?
Well,
Because
I've
we,
already sent emails to a few different women support organizations where the women are already kind of there looking for some immediate support, seeing if I could come in and speak. And so I've sent out like three of those types of emails introducing myself and seeing where I can fill in the gaps or,
okay,
walk alongside them.
okay, great, great. I'm glad that you said that, Roxanne, and I'm going to really tell you why I'm really glad you said that is because social is wonderful. I'm not disputing it at all, but I also find it just because the way we've been wired over the last, I would say last 10, 15 years, more so in the
Hmm.
last probably 10 years, is that when we think to reach our audience or to connect with our audience, we immediately think we need to go online, whatever the platform may be. And I'm not disputing it. That is a part of it. But
Hmm.
with that said, again, not saying, don't do that, but with that said, is that we tend to overlook or not look at what is already literally in our backyard, meaning physical places we can go or organizations we can contact, which you already know our audiences congregate already.
Hmm.
What I also love about that is that if we can, and I say this word not from a manipulative place, but from a very strategic place, if we can insinuate ourselves into communities that are already in existence and provide a value to them where our
Hmm.
audience hangs out, then it helps that organization or business or whatever it is, and it gives us direct access to our audience from that grassroots perspective. Then we can then invite them to go check us out on whatever platform we
Hmm.
choose to use, as opposed to posting and posting and posting and
Hmm.
truly waiting for the algorithm, which may or may not, and I know the algorithm is, it's based on what, we'll put it like this. The algorithm responds to the individual person and what they already are engaging with.
Mm.
It's not that they are suppressing necessarily our stuff, although I know that does happen.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
typically, if I'm clicking on recipes, I notice like on Instagram, if I'm clicking on recipes of like baking stuff, then I go log into Instagram and all I see is baking stuff, you know. Or
Right.
if I click on and I watch or like a video about something to do with entrepreneurship or faith-based entrepreneurship, then my feed is full of that,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So the algorithm is customized to what it is. What I'm also going to say to you, also, Roxanne, is by having that grassroots connection with people, then that's going to also give you intel on what to make content about.
Yeah.
So you are able to really like, if someone's saying, this is what I'm dealing with, this is what's happening, this is what's going on for me, or what have you, then you can make videos about that as an example. So I just want to put that out there,
Mm-hmm.
that, always, if you can find a direct in with an art, with a, if you want to go there, an influencer, if you will. I don't throw that word around lightly, but someone who has,
Yeah.
the ear of your audience and where they already hang out, and then see how you can support. Okay.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I learned that from you. So,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Wonderful. Good, good, good. All right. So then moving into the answer to the question about the book, which I believe was a post that comment you made. So the bridge to publishing. Um, with
oh,
that said, what are you thinking in regards to the product that you will make to support this audience with this problem?
well, that's the thing too. It's like the first thing I thought was, do I really want to make a book for this,
Right,
for this ecosystem?
right.
Because I think the women will want something that's more, I dare say, a little fun.
Mm-hmm.
Not like just like, woo, like because they're coming in raw, they're coming in hot, it's just like
Mm-hmm.
something that like I haven't totally figured it out yet. When you said a card game, I was thinking cards or some type of something that helps them as they're transitioning and getting healthier and getting more confidence and that kind of stuff, like something that they can look at and feel like, okay, she understands, or this card game really gets where I'm going, where I'm building to. Because I don't just want to have a community where I just teach women how to get through the worst time of their life. I want to teach them how to, um, take care of do their finances well and the things to look out for so they're not continuously if they're being financially abused or if they need to get that job because that was my story. I needed to get a full-time job all of a sudden so I could keep my house because was still raising kids, 3 kids at home and just those things like it's my story, and it's
Wonderful.
like I lived through all of this stuff and so I want to teach them what I learned and even with finding a lawyer. I mean, everything was such a God thing. I know that sounds a little whatever cliche, but it's like
No, no.
I prayed about a certain type of lawyer. I mean, I was so specific
Mm-hmm.
and it was answered. And I didn't know people like this existed when it comes to lawyers, but he was the best lawyer ever.
Mm-hmm.
He's retired now, so I can't like refer him to anybody, but it's like just having that patience when everything seems to be going upside down. And so I want to give them that in something that um maybe it's like it was this way and now it's this way, or it's this way. And what would you do in order to, come out of this situation? Something
Mm-hmm.
to
Mm-hmm.
help them think more strategically about Like when you're in these situations where you're very like place to live, your food, your money, everything could be at stake.
Yes.
Um, Here's something I can give you so you can learn like even ahead of time, even if you feel like you're trying to make an exit plan or something like that.
Right.
Um, you can use this to kind of learn how to deal with those situations and stuff. So
Okay.
that's just like literally just now coming out of my brain. So I
Wonderful.
haven't
Wonderful.
totally
Wonderful. Wonderful.
figured it out yet, but
Okay, good. So actually, you're in the best possible position right now because, again, I want to expand the definition, and I really got this wholeheartedly after the interview, the podcast interview I did with Haisa. What I am expanding the definition of an authorpreneur doesn't necessarily mean the author of a book. It could be
mhm,
the packaging is can be, as she used the term, shapeshift, which I really
mhm,
liked a lot. Shape-shifting entrepreneurship. What does it mean to
yeah.
be? It doesn't have to be a book. It could be a card game. It could be a board game. It could be an audio series. It could be whatever. So I'm not married to it having to be a printed and bound book. But what I will say is, bottom line, number one, no matter what packaging the quote unquote monetizable product takes, is that you will always build the best possible product in union with the people who the product is intended for. So what I mean by that is, and again, is what I've done, is what Haisa is doing, is what everyone that I'm working with who's really succeeding is really doing, is that they are, as I've always said, you've been around me any length of time, is getting some kind of a small community together. I guess it could be a schoolroom, it could be in person, it could be whatever, but being able to literally walk it out in real time with real people, where you're getting real time feedback, where you're getting real time, because you're going to come to things that if you just sort of sit down and go, okay, I'm going to just write this all out, that you might miss or you might not catch. Because
Mhm,
again, you're trying to recite what you already have in your head and what you know. But when you're talking to people like what you and I are doing right now, things are going to come up for you, or come, should I say, come through you,
mhm,
that
mhm.
might not would have come through you had you been off on your own, just trying to remember everything that you did. And then
Right.
as a result of walking that process out, then you start to get the answer to the question that you just asked is, well, should it be a this or could it be a that or whatever? I think that those
Yeah.
answers will come to you
Yeah.
as a result of the actual, what's going to be the most beneficial resource packaged in the most beneficial way that's going to help that person, using your expertise, going back to number one, connected with the audience, then creating that strategic connection between the two. And then through that, then you will determine. Now, I said the word book, but it could be a book, it could be a course, it could be an app, it could be a card deck, it could be it could be a checklist, it could be a planner, it could be a variety of different things. It could be all of that. It could be a retreat.
Hmm.
But what you're doing is you're building it out in real time with the people who it's intended for, through that strategic connection that you're building with the people who already have the ear of that audience, because they'll tell you what they want.
Hmm.
They'll tell you
Hmm.
what they want. And my favorite line I use all the time, it's not a line, it's a question. I want to develop, or I am developing products or programs or whatever that's going to help you. What would you like to see? What would you like to hear?
Hmm.
I think
Okay.
I think about, in particular, with there's another a member of my program, Allie. Allie developed a beautiful planner journal around, for women who were trying to rebuild their life after living through domestic violence. And one of the things that she put in the book, which I thought was like her signature thing, well, one of her signature things, depending upon the degree of where this individual was an action plan for what to do if you were preparing to leave.
Hmm.
Because when you're like, and so things like she was saying, like always keep a suitcase with the kids' toys and certain medications and things in a bag. Have a person that you call that if you're in it in the moment and it's heated,
Yeah.
that you call and you can say a certain word that you both have agreed upon that when they hear you say that, they know you're in distress and to call the police. It's, that kind of thing. So
Right.
it's like I said, you will uncover those, and you may already have some in your mind already. But you can uncover those as a result. And I'm also going to say on the last note on it too, is you don't need a dozen people. You can do it with two, three, four, five people or what
Hmm.
have you. But you're workshopping it out. So, and that's my favorite term, workshop, literally workshopping it out so that you know exactly what to create and how to package it. Um, And then, like I said, it may end up in a book. And if it does end up in a book, guess what? All of those sessions that you did
Hmm.
all will serve as literally content that can go inside your book or go inside whatever it is that you choose to do as far as packaging goes.
Okay.
Okay. Does that,
Mm.
how does that land for you?
Good.
Hmm.
Like I say, it's, you know, it's before when I said, okay, with the other one, I said I wanted to do a book, and I actually started like gathering my information.
Hmm.
But this one, I really feel like I'm thinking about an app or journal. The reason why I'm kind of leaning away from a journal, to be honest, is because it can be found
Hmm.
um,
Hmm.
and put somebody in danger.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm. Hmm.
so if it's online, if they have their phone or whatever, there could be a quick exit button
hmm
um,
hmm hmm
to go to some other page, maybe maybe a cooking channel or something like
hmm
that.
hmm hmm hmm
So I'm thinking about something like that
Definitely.
eventually, or it could be um, like once they're in the actual, community, just something even simpler, like a PDF that helps them learn, certain things once they're in the community. But
Right.
yeah, like I said, I'm still figuring it out.
Okay.
So
Yeah. So again, this can go what deeper. I'll say this also is from the purpose of monetization for you in this context. You also have to ask yourself the question, is this target audience with this particular issue, are they in a position to be able to purchase anything from you if they are in a crisis situation and they need to transition out? So that's
mhm,
also going to have to factor into what it is that you ultimately decide in regards to
yeah.
this. So, because again,
On my landing page, I have a sponsor page. So
okay,
I've already started looking for sponsors to like
okay,
sponsor a program for a woman in my community,
okay,
because that is like the very first thing that me and my mentor discussed is about how a lot of these women are financially abused and they can't afford the program.
hmm,
But she couldn't sustainably keep running the program because nobody could afford it and she wasn't asking for sponsors. And so at
right,
least I don't know, maybe she was asking for sponsors, but I'm
okay,
not sure. I never heard of that.
okay,
And so I am asking for sponsors for
right,
seats for,
right,
just cohorts of no more than maybe 8 women at a time who can go through the program because it's about 6.5 months to
okay,
have that real transformation
okay.
and healing. So,
Okay. I'm glad you're thinking that way because that was my immediate thought. Because, and again, I'm only saying this because of what, what I've sort of helped Allie try to walk through a bit. Now, she is selling her book, quote unquote, but you did bring up a very valid point that she may not want something around physically, that could be found or what have you. So again, from the perspective of monetization, because that's what we're talking about here is monetizing this. How are
Okay.
you going to do that if the target audience doesn't have the funds to be able to pay you? Then you are looking at sponsorships, which are very valid, very, very valid. Grants could be another option that you
Those
also
two. Yeah.
could also look into.
hmm
Um, and you have to think about that. I mean, again, if this is a calling, and I believe it is a calling on your heart to do. Now, the last thing I'll say in regards to sponsorships is I know a piece that you brought up at the very beginning
Okay.
was around financial literacy
Mm-hmm.
for women who are needing to rebuild their lives financially as a result of getting out of that situation. So I would encourage you to expand your definition of sponsors from just
The program.
yeah, I mean like look at organizations that maybe can help women start businesses, get jobs. Um it could be a lawyer. It could be like you mentioned a lawyer in the beginning of the conversation. It could be um, you know, I don't know, anything around the financial services side of things could
hmm
be because some of these organizations do have budgets set aside that they have to quote unquote pour back into the community.
Okay.
So
Looking at.
expand your definition of who the sponsors could potentially be.
hmm
And you definitely want to go to people that have money, that
hmm
understand that they have to, they earmark funds for community outreach.
Okay.
And so you do have to, it is going to require you to, go outside maybe your comfort zone. But if you've got something to show with a good message and good story and everything behind it, it could be
hmm
something that they want to get behind so that again, the intended user is not the end, it's not necessarily the buyer.
Right.
But if that person needs, an attorney, if they need
Right.
accounting, if they need this, they need that, then this app, if you want to go there, is underwritten by blah, 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 blah,
mm
whomever it may be. So I just wanted to put that out there because again, we are talking about monetizing this.
Okay.
And so, you know,
Yeah. And see, you said something really good about yeah, I wasn't even thinking about like going to these organizations, these particular to get the lawyers and stuff, but I did know about one law firm in Minneapolis, and that was the only one that I thought I could trust to ask to kind of be a referral for my community. Um, so yeah.
yeah, yeah. So yeah. So yeah. So um yeah, I feel like based on what we're talking about, again, it's just like I said, it's getting that clarity about what you do, who it's for, how to connect with them, and then what are you going to
Mhm.
develop to serve them.
Yeah.
And basically, based on what we're looking at, those are the main four questions that that you need to everyone who's watching this needs to get clear about before we start building anything, whether it's a
Yeah.
book, an app, or whatever. We need to get clear about that.
hmm
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm even thinking, well, I can think all day, but I'll just I'll let you
Yeah.
continue.
Well, what I'll say, the last thing I'll say on it is, well, like I said, go with this and then, see what comes up. And yeah, just see what comes up. And so I'll just share. for those who are watching the replay, if you found value in what we sort of workshopped, not sort of workshop, but workshop with Roxanne, I go into much more depth about this. This is just sort of like an introduction to it, but I go much more in depth in the sessions that I do offer to people where we really start, we look up like who we're going to contact, how we're going to contact them, what are we going to say when we contact them. I go much more in depth in those sessions. And no, those are paid sessions. So I will put a link to a book a call with me if you would like to talk about that more in depth as you're watching this. And I'll put a link to my calendar in the description here on the video. And if you want to talk to me about booking one of those mapping sessions where we really go, we like really get the whole thing sort of planned out. Like what are we going to do to take this from here into reality as quickly as possible. Because the other thing that I find as creatives is that we can tend to get really, excuse my French, but geeked up behind the idea, but we haven't really put it out there to get real-time feedback on what we're talking about doing and or we're looking at doing. And we need that interaction. We need that feedback that is required in order to make sure that we're developing the best possible product, no matter what it is. Book, audio, whatever, that's all packaging. But doing it in community, doing it in unison with other people, even the smallest amount of people can help you develop something much, much better than perhaps you could have on your own.
Mm,
And just getting that process started for a lot of creatives, it kind of tends to stop there. Or again, we tend to have the tendency to go off and go make something that we've talked to no one about, showed to no one, have no feedback or intel on,
mhm,
or choosing a monetization model that's not really positioned to actually pay you. Again, so asking the question like, well, if they can't pay you, how else can you get monetized? So
mhm,
that's a whole new strategy that we have to think about. And then who are those people and how do we approach them and what's going to
mhm,
be the pitch and all of that kind of thing needs to come into play. So, our end customer may not necessarily be the one who's buying it. It
mhm,
may be through another resource that's funding it. And those opportunities are out there. I've always said if we can create opportunities that help other businesses look better to the people they're trying to serve, it's a
mhm.
win-win for everybody. It's just a matter of us being bold enough to ask.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Mhm.
all right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Let's see. I don't know. Marsha, are you still here?
Oh yeah, I'm still here.
Okay.
Um, yeah,
Okay, yeah, I'd love to get would you tell me what do you think about what we talked about? And then I know yeah, just give me your feedback.
no, I
Mhm.
feel like what Roxanne is doing is a really, really valuable thing. And I think about, the fact that yes, those people don't necessarily have the finances and stuff at the moment, but it's so important that we do look after these um women or like providers because their children are going to be the future, and if they're being impacted, the rest of society is being impacted. So you know there, if in terms of getting funding, like the community projects do grants sometimes, like for well-being for families and such like that, so you might be able to get some funding through community projects or from the government in some way to go towards that, and that would be really brilliant. And also even survivors of domestic violence or emotional violence, financial, whatever, once you've come through something like that, you really want to be in alliance with something like this.
Mhm.
So yeah, other people who have gone through it and come out the other end, they want to give back that hope as well. So I'm sure they will want to get on board with you and in some way promote it. And they will be advocates as well because they'll be like, well, they came through it and they're doing this now. So they can also spread a bit of hope for those people and maybe um
Mhm.
sponsor someone. So
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah, thank
I
you
would I would sponsor somebody.
for that. You are you serious?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't know how much it costs or whatever, but
Mhm.
I have also been through that journey myself
Mhm.
and come out the other end. And I'm so thankful to God for it. So,
Mhm.
when I was going through, journaling was my thing. And, I do sort of like, now I do artwork and I'm doing art therapy. So, even if I could give back that as part of your group and show people how they can, create and, in that space, even if they're just doodling, but that's a way for them to, just de-stress a little bit. There doesn't have to be anything on there that somebody can take away, but it's theirs. And then if they can find that little time for themselves to doodle and to, get out of that headspace, it's almost meditative,
Mhm.
and take them away from what's going on at the moment. So yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, we'll have
It's
to
good.
talk.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, and what you're experiencing right now, Roxanne.
I'm about to cry. I'm sorry.
Oh no, no, no. I
Ah,
mean, seriously, it's like because well, this is why I do this. This at the cornerstone is why I do this because, and this is why I'm saying, and I encourage it so deeply, is you never know who you're talking to or who's listening. And again, when we go off by our, now I'm saying I'm maybe 100% clear. I'm not saying there's not a time for us to go off and have that, that introspective, quiet time to, process and hear guidance and so on and so forth. But what tends to happen is that though we either stay stuck in that camp. So there's two ways to play this. Either we get stuck in the camp of I'm not going to tell anyone. I'm just going to go off by myself. I'm not going to talk about it. I'm not going to, whatever. Or we're hearing so many other people's voices that we can't hear our own. And so by having a container that you are the narrator and the curator of, you get intel and opportunities and introspection and ideas, inspiration that you wouldn't have necessarily gotten on your own. Like I said, you don't know who's in this room. You
yeah.
don't know who you're talking to. And then, Marsha came on and then shared something that validates what you already are thinking. Now, I didn't coordinate that. I didn't coordinate that. Marsha just was available to pop on,
Oh, bless you.
you know.
When you're called to do something, it's just, sitting in it and being obedient, isn't it? Because we know it's on our heart from day
Yeah.
one and we can try and find everything else to do, but to
Mhm.
do that thing. But yeah, that's what God's called you to do. So
Mhm.
you do it and people will be, yeah, they just feel your energy and they'll want to help in some way. It's like there's a lady, she's doing it deaf awareness. And this is the lady I spoke about, me doing a workshop for her. And she started this project. She ain't got a clue as to how she's going to get funding. Someone did a mini half marathon and helped her raise some money. Somebody is doing a what's it like websites, and so 50 £100 they're doing it for, and £50 of that goes to their charity. So it's just one person helping another person, and we get there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Thank you so much.
You're so
I
welcome.
think I think walking to raise money would be fun. I like to walk with people and
Mhm.
I started
Mm.
putting out some, stuff on Instagram for people to join me to walk, meet at the library.
Mhm.
So I think that would be
Yeah.
great for this. Yeah.
Yes,
Have
absolutely.
some good conversations along the way. Yeah.
Hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Mm.
Oof, didn't expect that. Wow.
Well, I'm glad you
It
were.
just feels good that, somebody, um, feels like what I feel because I really do have love for the women who are in the community that I'm already in, that I came from, and I know their stories, and it's just for me to finally say, okay, I'm gonna do this and face my fears
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
uh,
Mm-hmm.
and just know that I can listen to these people stories. That's what scared me. But I've done it already, so
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm just gonna keep going and
Yeah.
thank you for giving me this I forget what the word is, but it just feels I feel like a weight just fell off my shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
As far and like even if it's just if it's not what you kind of have in your budget to pay or whatever, if it is you coming in and
Mm-hmm.
just helping in some way and teaching the women, I'm just grateful. This
Yeah,
makes me feel like, wow, somebody actually cares about this.
Yeah. A lot of people
definitely.
do. A lot of people do. A
A
lot
lot
of
of people do.
yeah.
And it happens to so much more people than we even can imagine. And
Mm-hmm.
they're on their own. And yeah, so
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I know you're going to be a great help.
Yes.
thank you.
Absolutely.